Hello, Gregory Poole team. My name is Patrick Lewis, and I am the Director of Business Outcomes here at Alithia. I wanted to introduce myself prior to our business outcomes session tomorrow and give you an idea of what to expect. If you're watching this video, my assumption is that you're in a leadership position at Gregory Poole and that you have a vested interest in making sure that the CRM initiative we're about to undertake is successful. And of course, that you have a good idea of how the business runs today. The goal of our session will be to identify the high level outcomes that we want to get for the business from the initiative and how we're going to actually measure that success going forward. So in order for us to get the most value from that session, I want to ask you to do me one favor. I'm going to include a little snippet after I get off here of a video on a topic that we call the HPO framework. It's a really important topic, and it helps to put a box around everything that we're trying to do and give us a way to think about where we're going to go with the initiative. So actually two things. Number one, could you watch the video? And number two, can you spend some time tonight thinking about it and how it applies to what you know about Gregory Poole and where we're going? I think that if you do, it's going to allow us to hit the ground running tomorrow and really make this thing go once we get our sleeves rolled up. I'm really excited to get out there and meet with you all. Have a great day. Here comes the video.
Clients is based on something that we call the HPO framework. And in this video, I want to take you through the framework so you can understand how we apply it and how it might apply to your initiative. So let's jump in. The framework is based on a well-known and easily researched fact, and that is that most companies that attempt to do what we're trying to do, they fail. They just do. Now, the definition of failure might change, but it's usually going to be based on a question that sounds something like, did the initiative deliver the outcomes that the business envisioned at the beginning? Based on that definition, depending upon who you ask, 65 to 85% of leaders said no. And in most cases, it had nothing to do with the technology. It was something else. So that's where we started. The goal of the HPO framework is to deliver as many of our customers as possible into the 35% bucket. We call companies that fall into this bucket high-performing organizations. To build out the framework, we had to look closely at what the 35% were doing to see if we could find any common themes amongst them, and we did. In fact, there were 5. The first of those was the mindset that leadership brought to the engagement. In every case, they thought about what we were doing as an initiative and not an installation. That seems like a small thing, but it impacted every decision that they made from the very beginning. So one is how they thought about it, initiative. The second is they always began with a clear understanding of the why. Why were they doing what they were doing? We call these business outcomes. And not only did they understand them, take the time to get alignment, but they also made sure that these outcomes were clearly communicated, not just to the project team, but throughout the organization so that everybody was on the same page. So that's 2. The third was how they were organized. And this is an important one. In every case, we found that there were 3 layers. Even if they called the layers something different, there were always at least these 3. The first was at the top was the leadership level, responsible for defining the outcomes for the team, clearly communicating those, not to just the project team, but throughout the organization, and also responsible for reinforcement once the initial enthusiasm for the initiative began to wane. So that's the leadership level. Beneath them, you had a core team, what we'd call a core team of business users. Their responsibility was to translate the outcomes delivered by leadership into actionable steps for the team to take and configuration or customization requirements for whatever tool they were going to use. And in every case, a common thread was that they were power users of whatever this tool was going to be. So they deeply understood what it was capable of and applied that to their design work. The third layer was the admin layer. So in every case, regardless of how many administrators they have or technical people were on the team, there was always at least one person who deeply understood both what the software could do for whatever tool they were implementing and what the business was trying to achieve. So between those three layers and that understanding, it creates this synergy, a sense of ownership among the team. And in every case, in the 35%, they had that feeling of ownership, even when they brought other partners in to help. So that's 3. The next common theme was how they approached training, how they thought about training. And what I mean is they didn't think about it as something that you were doing at launch. They built a training system designed to deliver the right training for the right people in their organization at exactly the right time so that they could not just embrace the software, but they could embrace the initiative. So that's the training piece. And the last piece is that in every case, they had a cadence that went well beyond go live. And in most cases, they had 2 levels of cadence. The first was a strategic cadence, where they talked about what are the outcomes that we were trying to achieve and how are we doing against those? Do we need to make changes? And the layer beneath that is a tactical level. That is, how are we doing with adoption? How are we doing with productivity? How are the tactics that we're employing working to deliver those outcomes? So those 5 things were the common themes that we used to build out the framework. So what does that mean? What did that give them? What those themes gave these companies is the ability to not just launch an initiative successfully, but it gave them the ability to not only absorb change, but to accelerate through change. So changes in the outcomes that they were going after. Because they owned it, they could change their outcomes whenever they wanted and go in a different direction. They could change the people because the system was in place that allowed everybody to know how everything was connected regardless of individuals moving in and out. And they could change the software, the tools, the things that lay under the initiative because they knew exactly how that worked and they had a system to push them out. So simply stated, our goal for you is to help you become an HPO.